Welcome or welcome back. My name is Venus and you're watching The Saturnian Witch. Today I will be doing a video about one of my many books of shadows that I've finished again. If you've seen my videos on here, you've probably seen one of these. They do pretty well, surprisingly. But I'm doing another one. I go through a fair few of them. It takes me a few months to go through them, I suppose, but I've finished another one. It is a smaller one, like a A4 size, I think it's called, instead of like a large A3 size that I've done. But as per usual, it is in a sketchbook because the pages are thicker, so I like doing them in that. And yeah, that is what I shall be doing today. As per usual, as you could probably gauge from the name of my channel, I'm very much into astrology, and a lot of my craft is based in astrology, so there is a fair bit of astrology in these Book of Shadows. If you're not really into that, that's fine. There is other stuff in there as well if you want to stick around for it, but if you don't really want to see astrology stuff, you can just leave. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Please don't leave nasty comments in my comment section. No one forced you to watch my video. And yeah, but I do hope you enjoy this video. If you enjoy my videos in general, consider subscribing. And yeah, hope you enjoy. So this is this time's Book of Shadow or Grimoire, whatever you want to call it. Sorry if you can hear noises in the background, someone just slammed a door. This is it. It's like I said, a much smaller one, like size-wise, than my previous very large sketchbooks that I've been doing my Book of Shadows in. As per usual, there's probably a blank page or two in here, but I quite like this one. There's a fair few art pieces in here as well, as per usual. Being an artist and a witch tends to happen. Yeah, let's just get straight into it. So it's just blank. I did consider putting something on the front, but I didn't. This is the cover. This is my sigil. It was in the previous one as well, if you want to go and look at it. It's a sigil I made. Here's an index, which I have also in all my grimoires and Book of Shadows, which I largely recommend. Especially if you have like different things in different grimoires, like you go through different phases. You know which one has all of the stuff from like each book, if that made absolutely any sense. Excuse me. This is my natal chart, or what I knew at the time about my natal chart, which is a fair bit, admittedly. So here's just my planets and some larger asteroids, some persona charts. If you don't know what that is, I do go a bit more in depth into that in my previous Book of Shadows, if you want to see that. What a persona chart is basically if you zoomed in on all of your placements in your chart and they all had their own entire chart for themselves. Houses, and then these are hermetic lots, this one, and then some asteroids, which obviously I did not finish. As you can see, like I said, there were some unfinished pages. I did an Oracle and Tarot reading for 2024. This is what I got, and then I put some, this felt like it made sense as it's a journey. This is just some like astrology shadow work points, like things that you can look at. And then these are my major issues. Here's just a page of collages of a collage. I have some pages in here throughout the book sort of scattered around about specific tarot cards. So this is the Moon Tarot, if you want to pause to read it, or if you can read it. Honestly, my handwriting can be a bit atrocious. Here's an artwork. I've actually posted this on my Instagram if you want to go look at that, Venus Sterling on Instagram. I quite love it. I did it on blue, like greeny blue paper as well. I think it looks awesome. And it was a while ago as well, and I still really like it. So if you are not aware, I am an Aquarius rising conjunct my Neptune, my Chiron, my Eris asteroid. All right, and then I have some hermetic lots in Aquarius as well, as this would tell you. All right. When I tell you, like, Pluto transiting Aquarius affects me, it's an understatement. So much shit has happened. And one thing I will tell you about Aquarius Pluto transit, it's unlike other ones.
you will not predict how it happens. Right? You may know all the areas of life in which the Pluto transit will affect your life, but you will never guess how it will work. Right? I had a million ideas, and yet despite those millions of ideas of how it would get affected, those areas of life, I would have never guessed how those areas of life actually ended up being affected. And I'm not even a year into having the Pluto transit, so it's going to be a whole lot of change for the next 19-ish years. Then over here, I have a page about Athena, the goddess of war, the Greek goddess of war, I should say. And then continuing on to this side, and then I have another collage here in blue. And then one about Artemis, the great god of the moon and hunt and maidens. The origins, symbols, and then a lot of offerings here. And then epithets, animals associated, crystals associated, etc. If you don't know what epithets are, they're basically titles that were given to them that almost sound like entirely different names, but they're like separate titles. Right, that sort of gave like sections of the deities. This was another tarot reading analysis that I had of myself, what I pulled. Personal glamour magic. This is like colors mostly, this page so far. More colors, and then I have stuff about veiling. I love how this drawing turned out. It was literally just a random sketch, and I loved it. Neutral colors. These are like what I associate with them in terms of like beauty and glamour. Jewelry and charms. Hair. Scents and self-care. I saw this in someone else's grimoire and I thought it was so cool. It's power statements. And I absolutely loved it, and I did it in this one, which you can see here. And then here I have stuff about dragons, which, if you all know, I'm a very big fan of. And then another collage and this artwork. I think this looks really cool as like a whole spread. I think it looks very nice. Oh, there we go. Happy soul. So basically I just did this artwork where I wrote this in the middle, and then I did a bunch of paint, very colorfulness, and I wrote a bunch of things that make me feel like my soul gets happy at them. Which, yes, there is also an astrological placement for that, believe it or not. Stuff about the Abrahamic pantheon in my craft. If you don't know what that is, basically, like Christianity, Islam, Catholicism, they're all Abrahamic. They all follow the same God. It's just different beliefs around it. It's the same story about the same people, and the same entities. And for example, Archangel Michael and Archangel Jophiel are two angels I work with. And I have altars for them. Archangel Jophiel's altar is the largest altar I have, because she'll basically accept anything that I find pretty, but I don't have a use for. So, yeah, some angelic features, altars, lists that I've like stuff that I want for them. Archangel Michael associations and Archangel Jophiel associations. And then there's symbols here. This is Archangel Jophiel's symbol. And then Archangel Michael's sigils. Stuff about cleansing. This is stuff about home guardians, which I can't show you. These are my own ones, which implied by the fact that they're in an envelope. Which I think I do this a few times throughout this book. I add an envelope in. But yeah. Home guardians. If you don't know what a home guardian is, it's basically like a sentient ward that you make that guards your home. Protection prayer to Archangel Michael, and prayer to God. Also a protection prayer, I believe. I then have a page here about just my own beauty. It's just some stuff that I try to work through. Ace of Coins analysis, which is another tarot card. Oh, this is like more of a personal thing. This wouldn't apply to everyone. I'm a writer and an artist, so I have designed and made characters that are like self-inserts of myself. I've made 2 of them in 2 different stories and all that, and I like they're not very common characters in the story because that just feels a bit narcissistic, but yeah, these are them. I just figured it was something I should probably include in this book. Oh, Lord Crononos. Yay. So this is about the Celtic, the ancient deity that is very prominent in Celtic culture, Lord Crononos, who I do indeed work with. This is his origins, for as much as I could find. There's not a lot on him. Offerings. And then I was going to do traditions, like how they worshipped him traditionally, and I never got around to it. This garbage artwork that I never went around to fixing either. I'm just gonna skip that real quick. This is stuff about my moon sign, which is an Aries moon. 2nd house in Placidus, 3rd house in whole sign at 4 degrees. So that was comfort, emotions, family, home. Oh, dream analysis. I have pretty vivid dreams. They're usually negative, so I tend to do analysis on it. This artwork, I had just gotten a grey highlighter and I went crazy with it, and I absolutely adore this artwork. And I feel like it matches really well for like having the moon stuff right there. Vedic astrology, which is something I had gotten into. I don't know a ton about it yet, but yeah. So these are generally Vedic astrology follows the sidereal chart. These are my placements, my houses, and this is about nakshatras, which is like a sort of like, I suppose, decans in Hellenistic astrology. It's similar, I suppose, but the degrees are done differently. The classifications of nakshatras, like here, if you want to pause to read it, I suppose. Last one. Oh, did I finish that one? I thought I'd finished it. I didn't finish it, dang. These are, so I live in Australia. I'm sure you've seen stuff like this, the seasonal moons, like the buck moon and the worm moon, stuff like that, right? Which is an actual thing, which was like pretty common. It's in the northern hemisphere, and it's 2 specific lands in the northern hemisphere, admittedly, but it does not at all fit the southern hemisphere, much less Australia in any degree, right? Like at all. Like one of them is called the snow moon, and it's like dead summer for us when that moon occurs. And basically it's like every full moon in each month. All right, so I wrote my own, which apply, I don't know if they apply to everywhere in Australia, but they do apply to where I live. January solar moon, right? It's just hot. It's ridiculous. It is so hot. The moon feels like it's radiating heat in January. The yellow wasp moon, because that's when they all come out, is February. The first winds, which is like definitely what happens where like the wind starts to pick up. Golden leaf moon, when all the leaves start to turn. The green apple moon, when green apples become, or apples in general, but green apples start to ripen. The hibernation moon, when all the stuff finally goes into hibernation. Frosted grass moon, as it implies. The pollen moon, so this is when pollen starts coming out. Dandelions, this is when you start seeing dandelions in the wind. The green frogs, this is when they all show up on my freaking veranda. Honeybees, this is when bees start showing up in our yard. And the heat wave moon, so this is when the heat first gets bad. So yeah, that is what my seasonal moons are for where I live. Oh, decans. So I really like how this page turned out. It looks very organized and I loved it. All right, so if you don't know what decans are, they're basically, like I said earlier, about the nakshatras, but for Hellenistic astrology. And it's basically you separate each zodiac by 3 different placements, and it's meant to be like the face. So the reasoning why you could have like you could have identical twins that have almost identical natal charts, but they're just born, you know, obviously a few minutes to an hour apart from each other, giving them two different decans in their rising sign, right, which makes them appear different, right? So there are two different decan systems. You have the triplicity, and I have no idea how to pronounce this. I assume it's Chaldean because Chaldean sounds ridiculous. Or Chaldean, I don't know. Chaldean was, I believe, an ancient astrologer, but I could be wrong about that. Triplicity, it's like a concept. It's, you know, the triplicity decans are a bit more modernized, but triplicity as a concept is pretty ancient. And so here on my wheel here, you have, if you want to pause this, because I think I did this really well, these are the Chaldean decans for each zodiac, and then these are the triplicity ones. Triplicity tends to get consistently more used by traditional astrologers than Chaldean does, but I actually find that they're both pretty accurate. And then these are my decan placements. And then I just have the two decan systems. Yeah. I get really excited about it. I have a thing here about whole sign versus Placidus. I should write about it. I have two spells here that I was considering trying. Wow, I cannot speak. Enchant, like enchanting stuff with glamour, and then cord cutting. Very like these papers. Look how pretty they are. Saturnian altar, which is something I do indeed have. This isn't about like the god Saturn, the Irish god. What? The Roman god. It's about the actual planet, like harnessing the planetary energy. And I do actually have a Saturn altar, so this became a real thing. Stuff about the elements. Again, if you want to pause it here, because that's like a basic for witches to learn. Astrology and appearance. Abundance spell. Ooh. And then, that's like a thing for my niece. She doesn't like it when I show people. This is Saturn in my chart, which I figured was very important, especially considering I have a retrograding Saturn and it's my chart ruler, or it's one of my chart rulers as an Aquarius rising. Using planetary energy. So this is what I mentioned before about the Saturnian altar. This is like what you could make altars for each planets. So this is Saturn, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, the Moon, Neptune. The Sun, Mars, Pluto, Uranus. And then I did this cool. We're getting close to the end. Oh, I forgot I never finished this page. I don't know why. This was meant to be about my Celtic zodiac, but obviously that did not happen. Like I said, there would be a few blank pages. And then this is my thoughts on life and the afterlife. If you want to pause to read it, you can, but I don't know. It's a bit personal, I suppose, but I suppose I'm not the only person who has these sorts of views on it. I then did these drawings, which is not the first time I've done a drawing like this. Oh, I was doing insect associations. I remember I was going to do a bee. I also didn't finish. I said there were a lot of unfinished pages in this book. Ladybugs, butterflies, spiders. These, I do have some of the traditional associations there with them, but I also have mostly personal ones. I'm in Australia, so there are a lot of insects. So this is something, sorry for how much I'm moving. This is a concept, I remember seeing someone mention this, right? But the concept of astrology is that everything in the night sky, everything in our solar system majorly affects us as humans. And as literally everything is affected by everything. Meaning that everything that exists has to be ruled by something in astrology. And it can be like what you expect it to be, like the 12th house ruling over imagination and spirituality and addictions, but it could also be the fact that it rules over things like music and fears and myths, like like the verbal myths. So back in ancient times, a lot of the myths and stories were not written down. They were just like you said them orally. And so a lot of mythos and a lot of pantheons that were discussed through that method would fall under the 12th house. So I mean like everything, including like secrets and spirit guides, are all ruled by the 12th house. So if you want to look closely here, it's pretty random, I'll admit. So this is the 12th house. And feet and shoes, because you don't see them usually. Second house. Third house. So everything has to be ruled by a house, a zodiac, or a planet. Like, to the point where I don't think people quite understand this. The moon rules over everything that is given to us by our mothers. All right, so our emotional state, but also our literal physical body. And like, that tends to mean that Cancer as a zodiac rules over things like milk and eggs, because it tends to come from mothers. Just like how Pisces rules over things like the bed and pillows. And you can tell like very specific things about yourself. So like, for example, my 12th house is in Capricorn. And so because of that, all the things that are in the 12th house, I tend to be very like picky with and very structured in how I think about them. And so things that tend to fall under the 12th house, like undergarments, because they tend to be unseen, they're under your clothing. All right, my undergarments, I know this is very weird to talk about, but my undergarments tend to be like very plain, very practical. All right, they're not like fancy or anything. They're all neutral, like, and they're all super simple. There's nothing fun about them. All right, and that's because my 12th house is in Capricorn. Now moving on, I have this thing here about energy vampires. I love how this artwork turned out. Energy vampires, if you want to pause to read that. I figured I should probably talk about it, considering I have a few energy vampires in my own family. I have to veil quite a lot around a lot of my siblings and my mother, so it's not great. The universal law of balance. So this is something I like very strongly believe in. And then I have some other universal laws, like the origins and chaos, the order of chaos, the web of universal connection, continuation and change, as above, so below. And I had another one to do here, and I can't remember what it was. And oh, this is the end of it. Look at that. That's my book blessing right there. I now put it at the back of my books. But yeah, the next one's just a blank page, which I do plan on putting my handprint in. That's just a thing that I do. I do it to seal my energy to the book. But yeah, that is my Book of Shadows, or this Book of Shadows at least. It is not my first, it will not be my last. That's for sure. If you want to go check out my channel for all my other ones, because there are a fair few. And I'm already like a third of the way from my next one. So I hope you enjoyed this video.
All right, witchy people, that is the end of this video. I hope you do enjoy. If you like this video, I do have a fair few more on my channel, as I mentioned earlier. And some sketchbook tours if you're into art. I do have a fair few of those as well. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed. As I said earlier, please give it a thumbs up if you did, give it a thumbs down if you didn't. Also, like I said earlier, no one forced you to watch my video. Don't leave nasty comments in my comment section. You don't need to be an asshole. Alright, if you like me or my videos in general, please consider Please consider subscribing. Alright, and I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. Bye.